I realized something was wrong the night I found the fridge door wide open, every shelf emptied onto the floor. Yogurt cups, juice bottles, even my daughter's lunchbox contents, all dumped out like a storm had passed through the kitchen. My husband, Nathan, stood in the middle of the chaos with a concerned expression plastered on his face. Before continuing with the story, thank you for coming here. For more stories, please subscribe to the channel. And please mention where you listened to it in the comments. Thank you. Rachel, he said softly, you did this. You need help. I stared at him, heartbeat pounding in my ears. I came home 10 minutes ago. I wasn't even here. He shook his head slowly, pityingly, as if trying to soothe someone fragile. You were overwhelmed. You probably forgot. It's okay. Something fractured inside me. Not because of the mess, but because of the way he delivered the lie, gentle, sympathetic, rehearsed. Like he'd practiced it in the mirror. I cleaned it up in silence, my mind racing. Nothing made sense. Nathan had never been affectionate, not really, but he'd never been manipulative. Not like this. Then, 3 days later, he blamed me for leaving the stove on. Except I hadn't cooked that day. And the burner was still warm. That night, I caught him whispering on the phone in the garage. My name. The phrase she's slipping. The words better chance. Something cold slid down my spine. I didn't confront him. Not yet. I needed clarity. I needed proof. I needed to think. The next morning, after dropping our daughter off at school, I sat in my car gripping my chipped mug, a small thing, but grounding. It reminded me of who I was before the gaslighting began. A capable woman. A strategist. A mother who protected her own. Then a message flashed across my phone from a mutual friend. Nathan told us you've been struggling? Are you okay? There it was. The smear campaign had already started. I drove to a hardware store, bought 2 discrete home cameras, a doorbell cam with cloud backup, and a digital voice recorder the size of a thumb drive. I didn't cry. I didn't panic. I planned. For the first time in months, I felt something close to clarity. My mother used to say a fridge magnet proverb, truth doesn't shout. It waits. So I waited, too. And I recorded everything. I didn't know when the final blow would come. But I sensed it, like pressure building behind a dam. Nathan wanted a custody case. He wanted me unstable. He wanted me broken. What he didn't know was that every move he made from this point forward was going to be timestamped, backed up, and stored. Because I wasn't losing my daughter. And I wasn't losing myself. The first real crack in Nathan's plan appeared just 4 days after I set up the cameras. I came home from work to find him waiting in the living room, looking rehearsed, too calm, too composed. Our daughter, Lily, was upstairs playing. The air felt heavy, as if the walls were holding their breath. I think we need to talk, he said carefully. About what? I asked, placing my chipped mug on the counter. I didn't remove my coat. Something told me this wouldn't take long. Your episodes. The word came out pretended gently, like he hated saying it. You've been forgetting things. Misplacing things. Creating messes you don't remember. It's affecting Lily. I almost laughed. The performance was that transparent. Instead, I tilted my head. What are you referring to? He blinked. He'd expected tears, defensiveness, something messy he could use. I'm saying, he continued, that maybe we should look at temporary custody arrangements. Just until you're stable. I'm not trying to punish you, Rachel. I'm trying to protect our daughter. There it was. Blatant. Shameless. I looked him straight in the eyes. Nathan, I know exactly what you're doing. His jaw twitched. What's that supposed to mean? It means, I said calmly, that I'm not confused. Or unstable. Or forgetting anything. His facade flickered, just a crack, but he recovered quickly. Rachel, you're proving my point. This defensiveness? I raised a hand to stop him. No, Nathan. Sit. He didn't. He hovered, eyes darting toward the hallway as if calculating escape routes. So I walked to the kitchen table, pinned him with a neutral stare, and pulled out my phone. I opened the Cloud app. Selected the most recent clip. Hit play. The video filled the screen. It showed Nathan entering the kitchen while I was clearly gone, timestamped, dated. He emptied the fridge, arranged the items neatly on the floor, then stood back, rehearsed his expression, and waited for me to come home. On camera. His whole act exposed in glossy 1080p. Nathan froze. I turned up the volume. You could hear him whispering to himself. Remember, she did this. She's spiraling. She needs help. He swallowed hard. Rachel, that's taken out of context. Oh? I asked. Which context makes it okay? He had no answer. I clicked the next clip. It showed him turning on the stove burner, holding his hand over the flame to test its warmth, then stepping back and texting someone, another incident. She won't admit it. His face lost all color. You recorded me? He said, voice cracking. No, I corrected. You recorded yourself. The cameras are for Lily's safety. They upload automatically. He took a step toward me, then thought better of it. Rachel, listen, we've both been under stress. I made stupid decisions. But I wasn't trying to hurt you. You were building a custody case, I said. You were creating incidents. His hands shook. You don't understand. I talked to a lawyer. They said if I could show instability. I let that hang. He realized too late what he'd confessed. Rachel, he whispered, voice collapsing, we can fix this. No, I said. We can't. Just then, the doorbell chimed, sharp, cold, a note that sliced through the tension. Nathan flinched. I checked the doorbell camera feed. The preview showed his sister, Harper, on the porch. She was smirking and texting. And the message preview on her screen, caught perfectly by the wide lens, read. Did you tell her about the clinic? Lawyer says it helps the case. A burst of clarity hit me like sunlight. They weren't just planning. They were accelerating. Nathan, I said without looking at him, did you tell your family I needed psychiatric treatment? He didn't answer. He didn't need to. I opened the door. Harper stepped in without invitation, waving a folder. Hi, Rachel. I heard things have been chaotic. We're just here to help. Nathan says you've been having some issues. Her voice died when she saw my expression. I'm fine, I said. And I have everything recorded. She blinked. Recorded? What does that? I tapped my phone. The fridge video played. Harper froze like a puppet with cut strings. Her eyes wide. Her lips parted. Behind me, Nathan whispered, Rachel, please stop. But I wasn't talking to him anymore. Harper, I said quietly, you just showed up at my house with documents suggesting psychiatric evaluation. For custody. She stammered something incomprehensible. The silence between us deepened, thickened, then broke with a soft buzzing, another preview on her phone. Make sure she signs something. It's easier that way. Mom. I stared at the screen. She saw me staring. And suddenly Harper was the one looking unstable. I think you both need to leave, I said. Nathan looked panicked. Rachel, please, if you push this, it'll ruin us. It didn't have to be this way, I said. I opened the front door. Neither of them moved. So I said the one sentence that made them finally back away. I've already backed up the recordings. They left without another word. As soon as the door clicked shut, my knees almost gave out from the adrenaline. I leaned against the wall, gripping my chipped mug, breathing through the fear. Not fear of them. Fear of how close they'd come to robbing me of my reality. But they had underestimated one thing. My mind was still mine. And now I had evidence. Timestamped. Archived. Unshakable. What I didn't know was that the biggest reveal, the one that would flip everything, was still waiting on the doorbell camera. A recording that would change the entire custody case. I didn't sleep that night. Not a minute. I sat at the dining table with my chipped mug cupped in both hands, replaying every clip, every whisper, every orchestrated incident until the truth sat still and sharp in my chest. The anger came in waves, not loud or explosive, but quiet and precise, like frost forming on glass. By dawn, the house felt colder. Or maybe I finally understood how unsafe it had been for weeks. At 6:42 a.m., my phone pinged, a cloud alert. New doorbell clip saved, 6:39 a.m. My stomach tightened. I opened it. The footage loaded, grainy early morning light, Nathan standing on the porch, talking to someone out of frame. Then the second figure stepped into view. His mother, Elaine. Her arms were crossed, her face pinched with the kind of disdain she never bothered to hide from me. The camera picked up everything. Elaine sighed dramatically. Nathan, you need to push harder. If she won't break, create more incidents. You're too soft. Custody goes to the parent who proves stability. I'm trying, Nathan muttered. But she's being careful. You said she was emotional, Elaine snapped. Use that. Make her look erratic. Move something in Lily's room again. Lily's room. My pulse hammered. Nathan ran a hand through his hair. Mom, I did the fridge. The stove. The keys. So do more, she said. Judges fall for patterns. And Harper will testify that Rachel admitted losing control. He didn't question her. He just nodded. Then, unbelievably, Elaine leaned closer to him and said, if you want your daughter, you have to make Rachel unfit. Stop acting like you're above it. I clicked pause. My hand tightened around my mug so hard I felt the ceramic creak. They were planning to attack me through my daughter's room. Using Lily as ammunition. That shifted everything from manipulation to cruelty. I pressed play again, jaw clenched. Nathan whispered, what if she finds out I'm recording her? Elaine huffed. She won't. She's too emotional to notice anything. Just get her worked up. You want full custody? Earn it. The clip ended. I sat back, trembling, not with fear, but with clarity so sharp it almost hurt. I wasn't fighting a confused husband. I was fighting a coordinated family strategy. And they were willing to psychologically torture me to win. I forwarded the clip to the private folder only I had access to, then to my email, then to an external drive I kept in my office. 3 backups. My mother's voice echoed in my head, her favorite fridge magnet saying, truth doesn't shout. It waits. Well, the truth had waited long enough. I spent the morning stabilizing the house, checking Lily's room, locking the cleaning cabinet, moving the camera angles to catch every corner. I wasn't paranoid. I was prepared. Nathan had proven preparation was necessary. At 11:12 a.m., he came home early. Just walked in, calling out, Rachel? We should talk. I think we both said things. I didn't say anything, I said, stepping into the hall. You did. He stopped mid-step, scanning my face for weakness. He found none. For a split second, panic flashed through his eyes, panic that I wasn't cracking under pressure. Look, he said more softly, I know last night was intense. But I don't want to fight. No, I said. You want custody. His cheeks tightened. That's not fair. Neither is pretending I had a breakdown. He swallowed. Rachel, I only said those things because I care about Lily. No, I corrected, you said them because your family convinced you it was the easiest way to win. He opened his mouth, but I cut him off. I know about the meeting with the lawyer. I know what you told your mother. And I know she told you to create patterns. How would you know that? He snapped. I lifted my phone. He froze. Rachel, what did you record? Everything. His face drained. We stared at each other for a long, brittle moment. Then Nathan took a shaky breath and walked into the living room, rubbing his hands together the way he always did before delivering bad news at work. Okay, he said. Here's what we can do. You delete the recordings. We go to counseling. We split custody. No lawyers. No court. No, I said. You don't negotiate with the person you tried to dismantle. His jaw flexed. Rachel, think about Lily. I am. The silence between us cracked like ice. He tried a new angle. If you escalate this, my family will fight you. And they're relentless. I know, I said. They're also recorded. His eyes widened. You didn't, Rachel, my mother didn't mean. She meant every word. He began pacing, fast, uneven steps, like an animal realizing the cage door had locked from the outside. You can't use those recordings. They'll say you provoked me. They'll say you're paranoid. Mom will deny everything. There's doorbell footage, I said plainly. Cloud stamped. Auto backed up. You can't erase it. He froze again. Completely. His voice, when it came, was ragged. Rachel, please. I don't want to lose my daughter. The softness was almost convincing. It used to work on me. Not anymore. You weren't worried about losing her, I said, until you realized you might lose your case. I wasn't. You were, I whispered. And you know it. He sank onto the couch, staring at his hands. Then came the line that sealed everything. Fine, he said hollowly. What will it take for you not to destroy me? I didn't answer immediately. Not because I didn't know, but because I wanted him to sit in the silence he'd created. Finally, I said. I want honesty. Accountability. And joint custody. Real joint custody, not a performance. He blinked. That's it? No, I said. I want you to stop letting your family dictate your decisions. And I want a mediator present for the rest of this process. He looked confused. Then relieved. Then conflicted. You're not pressing charges? He asked quietly. I met his eyes. Not yet. His shoulders sagged with desperate gratitude. But he didn't understand. This wasn't mercy. It was strategy. Because the mediator session was already booked. And I had already compiled the video clips. I knew Nathan would walk into that room trying to spin his story. But this time? Every lie he told would stand next to a timestamp. And his mother's voice telling him to destroy me. He thought he had built a case. He didn't realize I had built one too. Mine just happened to be true. The mediation room was colder than I expected, metal chairs, a long wooden table, a small potted plant someone must have placed there to make the space feel less like a battlefield. It didn't work. The tension humming in the air cut cleaner than any blade. Nathan walked in 5 minutes late. He looked smaller somehow, shoulders tight, eyes darting between me and the mediator, Ms. Carter, a calm, sharp woman in her 50s with a smooth, unreadable voice. The kind of woman who sees through theatrics immediately. He didn't sit beside me. He sat across. That, at least, was honest. Ms. Carter clasped her hands. All right. We're here to discuss custody arrangements for your daughter, Lily. I need both of you to speak clearly and respectfully. Nathan, since your petition came first, you may begin. I didn't flinch. I knew he'd file something. He always moved early in his plays. Nathan cleared his throat, adopting a performance posture, chin raised, voice softened, the concerned father act in full bloom. I'm worried about Rachel's mental stability, he began. She's been confused, overwhelmed, forgetting things. The environment at home hasn't been stable. I'm not trying to take Lily away, but I believe primary custody would give her consistency. Ms. Carter nodded slowly. Rachel, your response? I opened my notebook and tapped my chipped mug. Yes, I'd brought it. A grounding ritual. A reminder of truth. Nathan, I said gently, I'm curious, what specific incidents are you referring to? He hesitated for just a fraction of a second. Enough to tell me he didn't expect calmness. He expected tears. He picked a page from his folder. The fridge incident. The stove. Misplaced items. Emotional volatility. Volatility, I repeated, keeping my voice smooth. Is that your professional assessment? Or your mother's? He blanched, but recovered quickly. I'm trying to keep this civil, he said. Good, I replied. So am I. Ms. Carter's eyes flicked between us. Nathan, you can share any evidence you brought. His relief was palpable. Finally, something he believed would win sympathy. He pulled out printed photos, messy kitchen, stove left on, my coat thrown across a chair. Staged images. Images I had watched him create. Ms. Carter examined them silently. Then it was my turn. Ms. Carter, I said, before I present my evidence, I'd like to play a short recording. It relates directly to the events Nathan described. Nathan's face drained of color. Rachel, come on, he muttered, don't do this. But I was already pressing play. The first clip filled the room, Nathan entering the kitchen, glancing around, then emptying the fridge with clinical precision. The timestamp glowed in the corner. 6:03 p.m. Day of the incident. Ms. Carter sat back, eyebrows rising slowly. Nathan, is this you? He stuttered. That's Rachel. The next clip played on its own. Him turning on the stove burner, testing its warmth, texting Harper. Another timestamp. Then his voice whispering, she did this. She's slipping. This will prove it. He lunged slightly in his seat, palms up. Rachel, that's taken out of context. Ms. Carter held up a hand. Nathan. Sit. He sank back down, shaking. I wasn't done. One more, I said. The doorbell clip opened. Elaine's voice, sharp, impatient, echoed through the room. If you want full custody, you have to make Rachel unfit. Stop acting like you're above it. Nathan shut his eyes. Ms. Carter's pen froze in midair. And, I added softly, you can also see Harper's phone screen. A message from their mother, make sure she signs something. It's easier that way. Silence. Heavy. Crushing. Finally, Ms. Carter spoke, measured, professional, but with steel threaded through every word. Nathan, you built a case by manufacturing instability. You coordinated with your family. You attempted to manipulate evidence. These actions directly impact your credibility and your fitness as a co-parent. His eyes brimmed with panic. Ms. Carter, you don't understand, my mother pushed. Your mother is not on trial, she said evenly. You are. He covered his face with both hands. Ms. Carter turned to me. Rachel, do you have additional documentation? Yes, I said. All recordings are cloud-synced, timestamped, and preserved. I have copies on 2 separate drives. I also kept a written log of every interaction across these weeks. I slid the folder across the table. She reviewed it. Slowly. Nathan didn't move. Finally, she exhaled. There will be no custody transfer, she said. From what I've seen, Rachel has demonstrated stability, clarity, and proactive safety measures. Nathan, your petition will be reviewed for potential bad faith filing. Nathan whispered, "Please, don't take my daughter." His voice cracked. It wasn't manipulation this time. It was fear. Ms. Carter nodded toward me. "Rachel, what custody arrangement are you requesting?" I looked at Nathan. He wasn't my husband anymore. Not the man I thought I married. But he was Lily's father. And Lily loved him. "I'm requesting joint custody," I said. But with supervised exchanges. No involvement from his family. And mandatory individual therapy. Nathan's eyes lifted. Shocked. Ms. Carter wrote quickly. "I find these terms reasonable and in Lily's best interest." The session ended soon after. Nathan left first, shoulders collapsing as he exited the room. He didn't look back. I sat alone for a minute, gripping the handle of my chipped mug, letting the adrenaline ebb from my veins. I didn't feel victorious. I felt steady. I protected my daughter. I protected myself. I protected the truth. And yet, I sensed something unfinished. Something waiting beyond the mediation room. Because Nathan's family never loses quietly. And I'd learned the hard way that silence from them usually meant plotting. Still, as I stepped outside into the bright afternoon, I felt the sun warm my face, and for the first time in weeks, I breathed without bracing. I didn't know what their next move would be. But I knew this. I had evidence. I had clarity. And I had boundaries now. All three were stronger than fear. I thought the mediation would break them, that the recordings, the timestamps, the blatant manipulation laid bare would finally make Nathan's family retreat. I was wrong. They doubled down. It started 2 days later. I picked up Lily from school, and her teacher, Ms. Owens, pulled me aside with a concerned look. "Rachel, is everything okay at home?" My stomach dropped. "Why?" She hesitated. "Nathan's mother came by this morning. She said you'd had a mental episode yesterday and that we should keep an eye on Lily." The air punched out of my lungs. Elaine had crossed a line. The school. My child's sanctuary. She was planting instability in the one place meant to be neutral ground. I forced my voice steady. "For the record, nothing happened yesterday. And Elaine is not authorized to speak on my behalf." Ms. Owens nodded sympathetically. I figured. Lily's been happy and consistent. I'll note the boundary in her file. A small relief. But not enough. As Lily buckled herself into her seat, humming softly, I checked my phone. 3 missed calls from Nathan. 2 texts from Harper. "Harper, Mom thinks you're hiding something. You should talk before this gets worse." Harper, "This isn't over just because you embarrassed him." Embarrassed him. Not exposed him. Not revealed the truth. Embarrassed. It was a family that treated manipulation like oxygen. They couldn't imagine someone simply telling the truth. I drove home with a knot forming behind my ribs. Once Lily was settled with her snacks and cartoons, I reviewed the doorbell camera. Sure enough, there Elaine was hours earlier, standing on my porch, trying to open the door. Not knocking. Testing the handle. Pulling lightly. Then she leaned toward the camera, so close her breath fogged the lens, and whispered. "Rachel, you're slipping. Everyone sees it. You can't hide forever." A chill crawled up my spine. I saved the clip. 20 minutes later, Nathan arrived. No text first. No warning. He didn't even ring the bell, he just knocked with the urgency of a man trying to outrun consequences. I opened the door only halfway. "We need to talk," he said. I blocked the entrance. "Outside." His jaw tightened, but he complied. We stepped onto the porch, leaving the door cracked so Lily wouldn't feel anything wrong. Nathan exhaled hard, bracing himself. "I didn't know she went to the school." "I swear, Rachel. I told her not to get involved." "You didn't stop her," I corrected. He winced. "I can't control her." You controlled the fridge, the stove, the narrative. But not your mother? His shoulders slumped. I'm trying, okay? She's angry. She thinks you ruined the mediation. I blinked. I ruined it? She thinks you blindsided us. By telling the truth? Nathan raked a hand through his hair. Rachel, listen. If you don't ease up, she'll escalate. She's talking about filing something. A school report. Or calling CPS. My blood froze. She wouldn't, I whispered. He didn't answer. And that silence told me everything. Fear. Real, sharp fear lanced through me, but then something steadier followed. Resolve. A clarity that cut through the panic. She tries anything, I said quietly, and I will file a protective order. Nathan's head snapped up. Rachel. This isn't negotiable, I said. She approached the school without permission. She tried to enter my home this morning, I have it recorded. If she tries one more time to interfere with Lily's well-being, I will take legal action. And you will not shield her. He exhaled shakily. Rachel. I don't want this to turn into a war. It already is, I said softly. You started it. He closed his eyes. I'm sorry, he whispered. For everything. I really am. For a moment, I believed him. Then his phone buzzed in his pocket. And like a reflex, he checked it. Elaine, did she crack yet? Push harder. I didn't say a word. Just pointed at the phone. Shock washed over him again, shock at being caught, not at being wrong. He shut the screen quickly. Rachel, it's not, she doesn't mean. We're done, I said. And I closed the door. That night, after Lily was asleep, I sat at my dining table surrounded by my evidence, notes, recordings, screenshots, doorbell footage. My chipped mug sat warm beside me. My mother used to say that the mug reminded me I could hold things together even when they cracked. She was right. I compiled everything into a single folder. Organized. Timestamped. Clear. No embellishments. No emotion. Truth doesn't need theatrics. At midnight, I drafted an email to Ms. Carter and my attorney. Subject: additional evidence concerning ongoing harassment. I included Elaine attempting entry, her school visit, Harper's texts, Nathan's confession, the recordings, the screen captures, the timeline. I ended the email with one line. I am requesting formal boundaries and protective conditions for all future custody interactions. I hovered over the send button for only a second. Then clicked. When I finally went to bed, exhausted but steady, I didn't feel defeated. I felt prepared. Because something in me knew. The next step wouldn't be mediation or intimidation. It would be the moment everything flipped in daylight. In front of witnesses. And Nathan's family, who had controlled the narrative for years, would face something they had never expected. A truth they couldn't twist. The custody review hearing was scheduled for the following Tuesday. Not a full courtroom, just a secondary chamber with a judge, a clerk, and 2 attorneys. But the weight of it felt heavier than any negotiation I'd ever led in business. Nathan arrived first, looking wrung out. Defeated. His tie was crooked, and his hands shook as he tried to straighten it. For the first time in weeks, he looked like the man I married, the one who was overwhelmed by life, not the one orchestrating lies. But behind him, sweeping in like wind before a storm, came Elaine and Harper. Elaine wore a stiff smile, chin lifted as if she'd come to receive an award. Harper clutched a binder thick with papers, likely filled with the same fabrications they'd tried and failed to plant earlier. My attorney, Melissa Grant, calm, razor-sharp, leaned toward me. Stay quiet. Let their confidence do the work. I nodded, clutching my chipped mug. The judge didn't allow drinks, but Melissa brought an empty one anyway. She said it anchored me. She was right. The judge entered. We all stood. Then sat. Immediately, Elaine raised her hand as if she were in a PTA meeting. Your Honor, she said brightly, I'd like to say something on behalf of my son. The judge didn't even look up. Ma'am, unless you are a legal guardian of the child or listed counsel, sit down. Elaine's mouth snapped shut like a trap. Melissa smothered a smile. Nathan started fumbling through his papers, clearly shaken. The judge spoke first. Mr. Dalton, you filed concerns regarding your wife's mental stability. You've accused her of creating unsafe household conditions. Do you have evidence to present today? Nathan swallowed. Looked at Elaine. She gave an encouraging nod. He took a breath, then opened his folder. Except nothing came out of his mouth. Because the first page he pulled wasn't what he expected. It was a printed screenshot. A screenshot of his own text. She did this. She's slipping. This will prove it. His head jerked toward Elaine. She didn't understand. Harper blinked, confused. Melissa leaned in. I replaced everything in his folder during discovery. Legally. The judge's eyes narrowed. Mr. Dalton? Do you wish to explain this message? Nathan's throat bobbed. Then the judge continued, and what about the video evidence submitted by Ms. Dalton showing you staging these incidents? Elaine shot to her feet, furious. Staging? Rachel is manipulating Olive. Sit down, the judge said sharply, pointing at her without looking. She sat. Hard. Nathan visibly crumpled. His voice came out thin. Your Honor. I made mistakes. Mistakes, the judge repeated. Such as instructing family members to encourage a false mental health narrative? Or attempting to create a pattern of instability where none existed? Or involving your mother in school matters she has no authority over? Nathan's face burned red. I didn't mean for it to go that far. Sir, the judge said, you attempted to weaponize mental health allegations to gain custody. That is a severe breach of good faith. Elaine gasped as though she were the victim. The judge continued, Ms. Dalton has provided extensive timestamped recordings, doorbell footage, logs, and witness statements documenting prolonged psychological manipulation. Harper whispered, oh my God, under her breath. The judge turned to Melissa. Ms. Grant, your client is requesting joint custody with supervised exchanges. Do you believe that is still appropriate? Melissa glanced at me. I nodded once. Yes, Your Honor, Melissa said. My client values her daughter's relationship with her father. The concern is interference from extended family. The judge exhaled, tapping his pen. Given the evidence, I'm inclined to agree. He turned to Nathan. Mr. Dalton, from this moment forward, exchanges will occur at the Family Resource Center, supervised by staff. Your mother and sister are forbidden from engaging with Ms. Dalton directly. Any attempt to influence the child's perception of her mother will result in sanctions. Elaine sputtered. Sanctions? This is absurd. Ma'am, the judge said, if you speak again, I will clear the room. She went pale. Nathan whispered, I'm sorry, Rachel, but the words carried no weight anymore. Not after what he'd done. The judge signed the order. This hearing is concluded. Outside the courthouse, Nathan approached me cautiously while Elaine and Harper hovered behind him like scolded storm clouds. Rachel, he said, voice trembling, I never wanted to hurt you. I thought I might lose her. You almost did, I replied. He nodded, eyes glistening. I'll follow the rules. I promise. I hope you do, I said softly. For Lily. He stepped back as Melissa joined me. Elaine tried to move closer, but Melissa positioned herself between us like a shield. This is your only warning, Melissa said crisply. Stay away from my client. Elaine shrank, expression twisting with resentment and humiliation. I turned away from all of them and walked toward the parking lot, the chipped mug warm in my hands even without anything inside it. Melissa touched my arm. "You okay?" I nodded. Better than I'd been in a long time. Because truth does something when you let it surface. It clears the air. It straightens your spine. It makes people who thrive in manipulation choke on their own tactics. At home, Lily ran into my arms, giggling, her hair smelling like crayons and sunshine. I held her close, feeling her heartbeat against mine. This right here, was why I fought. Not for revenge. For stability. For protection. For truth. Later that night, after Lily fell asleep, I placed my chipped mug back on the kitchen shelf. A reminder of resilience. Of cracks that didn't break me. And as I stood in the quiet glow of my home, finally peaceful, finally safe, I realized something. They tried to drive me crazy. But clarity saved me. Recording the truth saved me. And in the end, they lost the only thing they never expected to lose. Control.